Is Mario Kart World the best launch title ever? The short answer is no, but you might be surprised where it ranks amongst the greatest launch titles of all time, but we will get to that shortly. Even a bad Mario Kart game is still a great game. I still don't have as much time as I'd like to with Mario Kart World to determine where in the pantheon of the series it would fit, but it's easily within the upper echelons. But where does it fit among the best launch titles of all time? Unsurprisingly, the majority of the best launch titles of all time belong to Nintendo. There are two ways that we tried to determine the best launch title. To begin with, it's important to determine how great the game was on its own, but in addition to that, you also need to try to understand how instrumental it was to the success of that system. So let's take a look at the greatest launch titles of all time and try to figure out where Mario Kart World finds itself. Coming in at 8th place is Mario Kart World. Well, I guess the cat's out of the bag early on this, but it's hard to argue against the importance of Mario Kart World when talking about the game's relation to the console's success. Nintendo Switch 2 sold about 3.5 million in just 4 days, and there is basically no other launch titles. The only counter argument to that is that Nintendo Switch is almost the best-selling console of all time, and people were gonna buy it no matter what. It's also bundled in with one of the 2 SKUs available and at a reduced price, so that would inflate the sales slightly. However, in Japan, the Switch 2 has sold 1.1 million units since launch, and Mario Kart World has sold 917,000 copies in the same period, which is nearly an 83% attach rate, which is wild, but there's basically nothing else to play. Coming in at 7th place is Wii Sports. There's no denying how many casual gamers purchased a Wii just because of Wii Sports. People you knew that weren't into gaming bought a Nintendo Wii because of how Wii Sports was just so simple and fun to play. The reason that Wii Sports is so far down on the list is for a few reasons. The first is because the Nintendo Wii also launched with a brand new Zelda title with Twilight Princess that also simultaneously launched on the GameCube. Furthermore, Wii Sports wasn't really a game as much as it was a tech demo for the unique motion controls that the Nintendo Wii was built around. Wii Sports was also packed in with the Wii for a very long period of time. Coming in at 6th place is Tetris. Tetris has gone on to become one of the most iconic games of all time. If something like Tetris was released today, it would easily be in the conversation for Game of the Year, and it was packed in with the Game Boy. However, the one counterpoint to the importance of Tetris and the success of the Game Boy is that the system also launched with Super Mario Land, and having one of the most iconic games in handheld format in the late 80s almost sounds unrealistic. Coming in at 5th place is Breath of the Wild. I personally think that Breath of the Wild is one of the greatest Zelda games of all time. It wasn't the first time that you could go anywhere in an RPG, but it was the first time that you could do it as Link, which means a lot. However, in terms of its importance to the success of the Nintendo Switch, I do think that the console was unquestionably going to succeed with or without Zelda at launch. The ability to have a system that doubled as both a handheld and a home console was revolutionary. Nintendo also had a solid cadence of releases which kept momentum going, including what I believe to be the best Super Mario title of all time with Odyssey that launched just a few months after the Switch released. Coming in at 4th place is Halo Combat Evolved. Without Halo Combat Evolved, Microsoft might not be in the gaming industry today. Not only was Halo a revolution for first-person shooters on console, but it was without a doubt a system seller due to the ability to have LAN parties. I can attest to this because I didn't buy an Xbox when it first released. I purchased mine about a week or 2 after because I tried Halo at a friend's house and played 4-player split screen. After leaving, I immediately went out and purchased an Xbox, Halo, 3 extra controllers, and a LAN cable. You could easily make the argument that without Halo, the Xbox might have flopped as it was a killer app, and Microsoft might not even be in the gaming industry today if it wasn't for Halo. Coming in at 3rd place is Super Mario 64. Unpopular opinion, but I'm not crazy for Super Mario 64. However, I do understand how much of a shift in gaming it was because I was there at the time. It revolutionized 3D gaming, and that's not a hyperbole. Moving from console to console, it was very important to show people what the differences were, and having a 3D Super Mario was the easiest way to tell your customers that this is the next movement in gaming and why it's time to leave behind the 16-bit Super Nintendo for the Nintendo 64. No amount of 3D Mario was good enough to compete with the other revolution also happening in the industry, which was the PlayStation and its much cheaper and much bigger library of games that also happened to be skewed to a more mature audience. Coming in at second place is Super Mario World. "Now you're playing with power" was the slogan, and Super Mario World was the embodiment of this statement. This happened directly in the middle of gaming when all that mattered was how many bits was your console. For those that didn't understand what this meant, all you had to do was show them how incredible the sprites, pixels, and colors of Super Mario World were. Super Mario World is not only near the top of the list of best Super Mario titles, but it holds up better than most as well. The Super Nintendo also had the likes of F-Zero and Pilot Wings at launch, both of which were great titles, but at the time, both of which were unknowns. Super Mario World was instrumental in making sure that Nintendo followed up the success of the NES with their second commercial hit in a row, as the Super Nintendo would go on to sell just shy of 50 million. Coming in at first place is Super Mario Bros. Gaming was in a very dark place, and just a few years prior to the launch of the NES, Atari had collapsed the industry with non-stop shovelware, which led to consumers feeling burned. The Nintendo Entertainment System also launched with other incredible titles like Duck Hunt and Excitebike, but there is no denying the impact that Super Mario Bros. Had on the industry, almost single-handedly turning it around. In addition to carrying the expectations of an industry, it also was an incredible game for its time that actually still holds up quite well today, and without Mario, the NES likely wouldn't have gained momentum and went on to sell over 60 million units. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, share with a friend, and let me know in the comments below what you think the best launch title of all time is. If you made it this far, consider subscribing. Video Games is a positivity-first gaming outlet. We believe that gaming should be a force for good. We focus on making uplifting content with constructive discussions and celebrating what makes games great. That's all for today, but until next time, be good to your fellow gamer, but more importantly, be better to your fellow human.